Welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, my name is Casey. I share simple style tips and outfit ideas that work for me as a petite woman. I like keeping things comfortable, easy to wear, and still stylish. So if you're also figuring out what works for your frame, you might find something helpful here. American fashion style is one of those things that feels instantly familiar, even if it is not always easy to define. And maybe that is because American fashion was never really built around just one silhouette or one ideal image. Its identity came more from the way people lived, moved, worked, and dressed in everyday life. When I started looking into it more closely, what stood out to me was not just what American fashion looked like, but how much it changed the way people dress around the world. Because when we talk about American style, we are also talking about the rise of sportswear, the normalization of separates, the spread of denim, and the idea that fashion could be practical and still stylish. The Met describes designer sportswear as something genuinely invented and developed in America, and that really says a lot about where this fashion identity began. If we go back earlier, American dress was not yet the dominant force it would later become. In the early 20th century, fashion was still shaped heavily by the more formal, decorative silhouettes of the era. Britannica notes that women's fashion around 1900 was highly structured, with rigid corsetry, elaborate trimming, and a much more ornamental ideal of dress. In other words, fashion was still closely tied to display. But over time, American fashion began moving in a different direction, one that responded more directly to activity, practicality, and the changing roles of modern life. One of the biggest turning points was sportswear. And in fashion terms, sportswear did not simply mean gym clothes. It meant clothing designed to be easier to move in, easier to mix and match, and more realistic for everyday use. This became one of America's most important contributions to fashion history. The Met's work on American sportswear explains that this approach focused on usefulness and adaptability, while Fitz Museum notes how deeply sporting clothes shape broader ideas of everyday dress. That shift matters because it helped move fashion away from full, rigidly styled outfits and toward wardrobes built from practical pieces that could be repeated and combined. That is also where the American idea of separates became so powerful. Instead of thinking only in terms of complete looks, fashion started to revolve more around shirts, skirts, jackets, trousers, knitwear, and later jeans, all of which could be mixed depending on the day or the setting. That sounds normal now, but it was a major change in how fashion functioned. American style helped make clothing more modular, more flexible, and more connected to daily life. That is one reason its influence spread so widely. It was not only exporting trends, it was exporting a more usable way of dressing. Then there is denim, which may be one of the clearest examples of American fashion becoming global. Britannica notes that jeans were originally designed in the United States as durable work clothes and were eventually adopted worldwide. Levi Strauss and Company had become globally established by the 1960s, with jeans moving far beyond their workwear origins. That journey says a lot about American fashion as a whole. Something practical, even rugged, gets absorbed into mainstream style and then spreads across countries, classes, and generations. Today, jeans are so universal that it is easy to forget how strongly they are tied to American fashion history. As American fashion evolved, it did not stop with denim and sportswear. It kept expanding through prep, workwear, Western references, athletic influence, and later streetwear. That variety is part of what makes American style feel broad, but it is also part of what made it influential. Prep introduced campus codes like blazers, loafers, rugby shirts, chinos, and varsity references into mainstream fashion. Workwear brought in chore coats, boots, utility fabrics, and the idea that sturdy clothes could also become style statements. Streetwear added sneakers, hoodies, oversized shapes, and branding, while still holding on to the same deeper American values of comfort, movement, and identity. Even when these branches look different on the surface, they are still connected by that larger preference for clothes that can be lived in. What is especially interesting is how these American ideas spread beyond the United States. American influence did not only move through brands, it moved through entire categories of dress. Sportswear, denim, athletic references, casual basics, and utility pieces became part of wardrobes across Asia, Europe, Africa, and beyond. Vogue noted recently that the appeal of American sportswear is tied to what it represents culturally, comfort, and pragmatism. And recent runway reporting has pointed to American sportswear and preppy codes showing up again in fashion outside the US. That suggests the influence is not only historical, it is still ongoing. What I think makes this especially worth talking about is that American fashion did not influence the world mainly by making everyone dress the same. It influenced the world by changing what people expected from clothes. Clothes could be less formal, they could be more practical, they could move between settings, they could be repeated. They could feel personal without always feeling polished. That way of thinking now feels so normal that it barely seems revolutionary, but it really was. And it remains one of the clearest signs of American fashion's legacy. Even today, a lot of what still reads as modern and wearable in fashion carries that legacy. Sports-inspired dressing still resurfaces. Denim never fully disappears. Sneakers continue to hold their place in everyday wardrobes. Utility details come back again and again. Vogue's recent coverage of fashion's ongoing obsession with sports also shows how persistent these influences still are. So while the look of American fashion has changed across decades, some of its core principles have remained surprisingly stable. Practicality, movement, flexibility, and the freedom to make clothes your own. I believe that the best way to understand American fashion style is not as one fixed look, but as an evolving system. It started with function, adapted to modern life, expanded into denim and sportswear, then branched into prep, workwear, streetwear, and global casual culture. And along the way, it helped reshape fashion itself, not just in America, but far beyond it. That, to me, is what makes American fashion so important. Not just the clothes, but the way it changed the relationship between style and everyday life. Let me know what part of American fashion history stands out to you the most. If this is the kind of fashion conversation you enjoy, feel free to subscribe for more, and I'd love to hear what style or fashion history topic you want me to explore next. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.